you can see here the research design and its typology. As I told you previously that we would have separate chapters on each and every content of the research. So the research design is one of the important content and one of the important element of the research process. We can say that it's actually the backbone of the research. The research design actually tells the researcher that what is the actual nature of the research and how this research would be conducted. So understanding the research design, its nature and its typology is very important. If you are unable to understand the research design, its nature or typology, it simply means that you are unable to do a research. So we start from what is a research design. A research design is a plan or a sketch produced to show the look and function or the workings of a object. Object means the object which is under the inquiry. So the research design, it presents the plan or a sketch. It means that the plan of a research is explaining the basic nature of the research and the proposed activities of the research. The sketch actually denotes the design or the basic makeup of the research. Like it is a quantitative research or it is a qualitative research. It's a short research, like time-wise, it's a time-wise short research or it's a long research. So the basic makeup or the sketch of the research, actually it is mentioned in the research design. And research design is also defined as the framework of the research. It explains the methods and the techniques which are to be chosen by a researcher. And other components of the research, if it are required and should be combined in a logical manner. So these all information are mentioned in the research design. So here you can see we have the typology of the research. We have two major types. One is the exploratory research, other is the conclusive research. The conclusive research is further divided into the descriptive research and the causal research. The descriptive research is divided into cross-sectional and longitudinal research. The causal research is divided into, that is what we call, one is the experimental and the other is quasi-experimental. So here the descriptive means what that is describing. That is why it is called descriptive. While the exploratory is in-depth analysis, the exploration. So the descriptive research is divided into cross-sectional and longitudinal. The cross-sectional is actually time-wise a short research, like let's suppose 6 months or 1 year research. The longitudinal research is that research which is actually long research and which we collect the data in waves or in panels. Like you collect data for 6 months and then again you collect data for 6 months and then again you collect data for 6 months. So we have 3 waves of data, 1.5 years, and this is what we call longitudinal. The causal actually means which gives in the cause and effect. A is causing changes in the B, that is called the cause and effect. So causal research is that research which helps to understand the causal relationship between the two or more than two variables. So it is mostly the experimental research, but we also have a quasi-experimental research. So we will discuss these types one by one. The exploratory research, as I told you, that it is about the exploration, and exploratory research is conducted to know in depth anything to know in depth, and it is primarily used in the problem that has not been purely or previously studied. And this is mostly used in pure research as it is qualitative mostly in nature. So the exploratory research is the most widely used research in qualitative research or in a case study research because it helps to understand the in-depth nature of any phenomena or anything. The exploratory research is further divided into pilot study, case study, secondary data analysis, experience survey, focus group. The pilot study is that study which is initially studied before the conducting of a full-fledged study. Let's suppose you want to do a full-fledged study of 3 years on, let's suppose, student motivation, but before starting that 3-year study, you conduct a 3 months pilot study. And you know the basic feasibility of that 3-year study. So the pilot study is actually an initial study. It helps you to save the time and the cost that if it is not conducted, then there is a risk that within the 3 years long study, the risk of having unplanned activities would totally jeopardize the whole research process. So the pilot study is actually helping you to plan activities in advance. Case studies are used in a situation in which you want to study a case. Let's suppose you want to study a health sector, so you take a hospital as a case, or if you are, let's suppose, studying the education sector and you take a university as a special case. So the cases vary from one to one and it varies from situation to situation. So if you are studying a particular person or institution in depth, then it is called a case study. The secondary data analysis is used in a situation in which you have already a data and you want to analyze it. Let's suppose you have the company records, the annual reports, and you want to analyze it. So that would be a secondary data analysis. The focus group, as its name shows, is that type of a study in which you select a group of experts and then you take their opinion. The same is here the experience survey. It is called experience survey because the experts are there and they give you their opinion. So the focus group or the experience survey is used to in-depth analyze anything. So these are the typical types of the exploratory research design. So far as the descriptive research is called, this is for the description or the definition. It describes the characteristics of any population or a phenomena which is going to be studied or which is being studied. So as I told you previously that the descriptive focus on the what rather than the why. So what actually denotes the description? In our management science, the descriptive research is most widely used. And as I told you previously, the descriptive research is divided into the cross-sectional and longitudinal. The cross-sectional is that type of a research which is a one-time research, and it is in a specific time, a one-point time study in which you collect a data from particular persons at one time and then you analyze it. So far as the longitudinal is concerned, it's also called a panel or a wave study in which you collect the data in different waves, like for 6 months and then again 6 months and then again 6 months. So you have in this way 3 waves of study. The longitudinal study is particularly used in the finance or in the banking sector in which you analyze the banks or the financial institutions reports, let's suppose for the last 5 years. Or let's suppose you want to analyze it for the forthcoming 5 years. The last one is the causal research. As I told you that the causal is denoting the causation or the cause-effect relationship. So the causal research is that research in which one tries to find the cause-effect relationship among the 2 or more than 2 factors. Such design is This design is particularly helpful in the science field, like in physics or in chemistry or in biology or even in psychology. This research design is particularly used in solid sciences. So to determine the causality, it is important to observe variation in the variable assumed to cause the change in another variable and then measure the changes in the other variable. So we also have the types of the causal research. That is, one is called the experiment and other is the cause experiment. So experiments are typically conducted in laboratories. I told you that this research is particularly used in solid sciences. So experiments are conducted in causal research and they are conducted in laboratories. So in a controlled environment, the particular phenomena is studied and we try to understand the causative nature of the variable that is being studied experimentally. In the areas like economics or empirical sciences, this experimentation is used. Even in accounting, this experimentation is used. And we have different kinds of techniques which are used in the experimental research, like the multiple regression analysis is used in the typical cause-effect relationship determination process.